Okay. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to hearing all that you have to share. So just to start off, if you could give a brief summary about who you are and the events that led to your imprisonment.
Okay, so my name is Ronnell Johnson. I served a little over 15 years in prison for an armed robbery that occurred at a car wash where four individuals robbed a car wash owner early in the morning and made him empty the safe contents. They attacked him with the one of the guys had a pistol and they pistol whipped him and threatened his life and demanded the safe contents, which he cooperated and handed over the money and then they fled and they were able to get away. So when the police came, they weren't able to obtain a trail or anything like that, or and they didn't have any leads. So they just put out a news broadcast trying to determine who the suspects was because even though the suspects were variously masked, a couple of them had like you know certain parts of their face shown or certain parts where they wasn't fully covered. And
Yeah.
one of them in particular had like no headgear on. He had a mask on from like the nose down, but he had nothing covering his eyes, nothing covering his head. So they showed it on the news maybe a week later, and just so happened my biological father was watching the news and taking his dog out, and he saw it on the news, and for whatever reason, he was struck and believed that I was one of the four individuals, and he called police and had them come to his residence, and he gave them photographs of me and just information that just kind of gave them
Wow.
the assurance that I was one of the individuals doing the robbery. So they obtained a warrant from a judge and to execute the warrant at my mother's house at my known place of residence. And that particular day that they served the warrant, I was home, sleeping in the bed, and they came, they kicked the door in. They knocked. They didn't even knock. They just kicked the door off the hinges.
Wow.
Took me into custody. Well, that's they. I guess they charged up. They charged up in a way where I guess they feel it's going to be a hostile or a dangerous situation when it's not. Most of the time, it's not. It's
Yeah.
the officers got to the officers have to control themselves, keep their composure in that situation because the thing is, my mom was walking to the door when they kicked it in. The door could have hit her in the face. They could have
Yeah.
shot her, being scared. They could have shot my little brother who was still moving around trying to figure out what the heck was going on. So, and we didn't stay in the ghetto or in the project or nothing like that for them to have to feel so adamant about kicking the door in. But anyway, they took me into custody on the armed robbery charges, and of course I denied them. And they didn't have enough evidence to proceed with um, charging me. They just arrested me. And
Yeah.
I was already in I was already in a little bit of trouble with my probation officer and a little drug case I had and a little car
Okay.
driving the car without a license case. So
Mm-hmm.
I just went on here and I pleaded guilty to those charges, and they gave me a 2 to 5 year sentence in prison, 2 to 5. So I was in the process of serving my 2 to 5 years when they recharged me with the armed robbery because they had my father's sister, agreed to testify and corroborate him, back up his testimony. So that gave them the initiative to push the charges against me. So they filed the charges shortly after I was in prison for just maybe for a month or two, and yeah, just for about a month. And I was arraigned. I was taken down to the county jail, and I was arraigned on these charges. I denied them. I was the only one in custody on this case that four people,
Yeah.
committed this crime that four people committed. So I was in there. I was just like, it's not me. I got a mistaken identity. They had my father and my aunt, so they went all the way to trial. I had my mother, my stepfather, and my stepbrother get on the stand and tell them that it was not me. I was home that day, and this and that.
Yeah.
Long story short, I lost the trial. Was convicted to 17 to 25 years,
Wow.
and that's how I got, you know, implicated in this crime. It was my father, my biological father, and no, he never did get with me or check on me or see where my head was at all. To this day, I haven't seen my father since then,
That's
even though he's
awful.
around. Yeah,
Yeah. I'm
But
sorry to hear
that's
that.
how I got implicated with crime.
Um, so how long were you actually in prison?
So I went in and I went in custody in April of 2007. I went to prison in about July of 2007. So I did 15 years in prison. And if you just count on time in custody, it was probably about 15 years and a couple months. Because I got out on June 1st, 2022. So I got out last year on June 1st on a Wednesday.
Wow.
And yep, I had to file my own motions and present new evidence and stuff because along the way my aunt recanted her testimony and agreed to sit down and write a statement and write an affidavit that her brother basically coerced her into saying what she said, and she never did believe that was me. She just was doing that because she felt that that was the best way to protect me
Yeah.
based on what he said, based on him telling her that I was on a crime spree or some type of. And I was
Hmm.
never that person. Never, even though I was in trouble with the law at the time of this crime and not doing right, I never was a violent or aggressive person. I sold drugs and I was like driving cars when I wasn't supposed to, but I didn't attack people or assault people and rob
Yeah.
people. I didn't do that. So it was completely out of my character. And I just was like,
Yeah.
trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So how did you stay hopeful during your time in prison, and what were you really thinking?
So I went into prison with a huge chip on my shoulder, and I was upset and I was frustrated. And I had,
Yeah.
because I knew that I couldn't go in there and find any like reprieve. Like nobody's gonna like baby you. Nobody's gonna console you. Nobody, it's only gonna be if you do find that person. If you are blessed enough to run into a good person in there that's really trying to help you, that's one thing. But most of the time, people will exploit your weakness. And I just knew that I wasn't the biggest and the baddest and none of that. I just knew I'm
Yeah.
like, dang, if I come here, you know, off my appearance and just the situation itself, I could easily become prey. You know what I mean? Like very, very, very um, good prey, like the type of prey that they love to have. You have a messed up family situation and you in here for something you didn't do. So it's a double-edged sword. So I just had a lot of animosity knowing that I would be facing that type of situation. So really, um, I came off in a way to let people know, like, don't mess with me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pissed off. But I'm also a real funny, playful type. But me knowing my own weakness, I knew that would get me in trouble. So I had to like fight myself because I like to joke around and play and be carefree, and I'm down to
Yeah.
earth. And I wasn't supposed to be there, so I had to like put up a little bit of a front. So my thing was, I tried to. It was such an uphill battle, such overwhelming to learn the law, to learn the semantics of the law, to learn how to apply the law in an argument and presenting cases and filing things. That's another animal. It's just another type of a beast because I see people in there who I believe may have been genuinely innocent. As soon as they
Yeah.
go try to fight their case, the overwhelming nature of the law and the language, they really give
Yeah.
up. And they either keep giving money to other people to do it,
It's really
wasting money that
hard.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real hard. So I just leaned on my language arts and my reading skills. I got language arts and reading skills, high marks, my high comprehension, and just
Great.
I'm not real good at math, but I'm good at language arts. So
Me neither.
uh, yeah, it's math is not really my thing, but
Yeah.
when it comes to words and interpretation and context and stuff of that nature, just I used that to my strength. So I started getting into the law, and I also used the righteousness, the fact that I was righteous. I didn't deserve to be there. I didn't do that,
Hmm.
and I just focused in, challenged in on my truth. And I believe in manifestation. You know what I mean? So I believe I manifested a lot of things that you know became that stood in front of me. Choices I had to go this way or that way, and
Yeah.
I always ended up over those 15 years. Trust me, I've been in wars. I've been in like gang wars, like because of my affiliations and my associations with certain people. A good guy may be a part of something. You know what I mean? A
Yeah.
gang or a group. They got the religious groups operate like gangs in prison. If you didn't know that, but it's about brotherhood. It's like people just trying to stick together against
Yeah.
somebody who may prey on them. So that's why people click up. So by me being associated with certain people, I would have um, guilty by association. Problems would come to me just by being attached to certain stuff. So I had to defend myself and my associations in that time while still trying to maintain my, you know, focus on finding the right form to the right resource to help get me out. So, but I know that my truth, my good always outweigh any of the negativity, and that's how I found my way. It was a few signs along the way. I can't get into all of them because it'd be a long drawn out thing, but a few, signs popped up along the way, and I read them. I read between the lines, and I followed my heart. And like I say, my aunt recanted. I obtained that. With that, I had obtained the help of the Michigan Innocence Clinic and the University of Michigan Ann Arbor. They took on my case to investigate it, and with that, they got the affidavit for me with my aunt. She sat down with them, and also they hired a photogrammetry expert who analyzed the still footage or video footage of a crime. And because I was refuting that was me, but there was a height discrepancy, because the victim said that these people were shorter than him, but that he was only 5'11". Me being 6'1", I'm trying to capitalize on the height discrepancy. So the photogrammetry expert actually, what he did was go to the crime scene and measure the known dimensions of, let's say, the door frame, the electrical box, where the light switch is on the wall, where this shelf is. And he applied those known dimensions to the footage of the crime, to the footage of the robbery, to determine the height of the person that's standing there, because they don't, so they can use the known dimensions around the person to determine how tall that person is. So when the photogrammetry expert actually did the analysis on a still image of this person who they said was me, he came back and discovered that the person is only 5'9". The person was only 5'9" with a margin of error of less than an inch. So the margin of error with his technique was 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. So that means this person could not possibly be 6'1", even with the margin of error multiplied multiple times. So with that, it still wasn't enough for them to bring me home. With the affidavit recantation and with that, the court. Yeah, it is. Listen, trust me. You can have a whole discussion about this, but it's a lot harder to get out than it is to get in, and they require a lot less to put you in than they require. Like the same person can say that you did something, and they'll use that person as their star witness to get you convicted. But that same person come back later and say, well, I wasn't being honest and I was being, bribed or whatever. And they will say that person is being, their new statement is not credible.
Yeah.
But how can they be not credible now if they were credible then?
Yeah.
So that's something that just kind of got attacked real good in the law, in the criminal justice reform way, and they've amended that to where they can't. If a person testified against you and they use that testimony to convict you, that same testimony or that same person can be used to unconvict if that's all they had. Now, if they had more things, and that one person won't be enough. But if it was one person, or if that was the great weight of the evidence, that person's testimony, and that person changes it later, they must reopen the case and reevaluate the assessment of guilt. So in my case, that wasn't enough at the time because the laws hadn't changed. And they kind of suspended the Michigan Innocence Clinic could not get my father to recant. He would not recant and say that he was wrong or mistaken in any way. So they felt that was a huge hurdle in getting a judge or a judge basically to admit wrongdoing, because I had a bench trial. Then I have a jury trial. I had a bench trial where the judge is the trier of fact. We went with a bench trial because I let the lawyer convince me that was the best way to go. Being that the judge he would know how to apply the law and not be caught up in a lot of the stuff that maybe 12 people may get. But now we know the 12 people would have never convicted me. So but because it was no evidence, it was nothing. It was my mom saying it wasn't, it was my dad saying it was, and there was a height discrepancy. So go ahead.
No, well, so what were the events that did lead to your release? How was your innocence proven eventually?
So with the affidavit and with the scientific evidence, it was not enough. In 2017, the Michigan Innocence Clinic closed my case. I was devastated because I was always up there. This was 2017, mind you. This is 10 years later. This is 10 years into me fighting, and they had my case, and me being naive to think that I was coming home, thinking that they were going to get me out, and they were confident and believing that they were going to get me out until their supervisors, let the students know. The students are really who we deal with, who we communicate with. That we're going to be closing the case around there. We don't believe that we can get get them home. And they let me know, and I was devastated for an entire year. I went into a depression and was just back to doing my time and contemplating that I may have to see the parole board and explain to these people that I'm innocent, I'm here for something I didn't do, and be ready for them to basically laugh me out of there or just shame me out of there and tell me, we want you to think about this for another year and come up here and take accountability for what you did, because that's their position. The parole board position is when you come to see them, you're taking accountability for your crime and you asking for your freedom and you begging and you're not coming up there saying you didn't do it. They're gonna let you go back to prison for a year and think about that. So I was really going through the fact that I may have to see the parole board and have to argue with them about my case.
Yeah, when you were innocent.
Yeah, and I was like, wow. So here it is, it's getting close to my ERD, which was 2024, and it was 2018 by this time. I told you I went into a depression for about a whole year, and I just was doing my time, just working out. Yeah, I just exercised and I got into prison politics, like, and stuff. But I started to realize that, like, man, I got to figure something else out. So just staying tapped into my source, to my power source, like I say, to God, not being religious, but I am spiritual. Staying tapped into my power source and really always keep my eye open for a sign. And one day I got a sign and I acted on it. I wrote a letter to somebody and they forwarded my materials. And I got excuse me, I jumped ahead a little bit. My bad.
It's okay.
Before that happened, sorry. It's a lot.
Okay.
Before that happened.
Say whatever you feel like.
Yeah. Before that happened, I was pulling out my paper where I had like I was revitalized on trying to, solve my crime. And I pulled out a lot of paperwork and I was in a cube setting, not in a cell. I was in an open dorm setting with 8 people in the cube and a table in the middle. And I had all my paperwork out. And one of my cubies was a juvenile lifer who had just, some laws changed and he was going to be getting released.
Mm-hmm.
And he was excited and stuff. And he was just, he took a look at it. We never really talked that much, but, like I said, he was excited and he checked out my stuff and he saw it and he was just like, man, wait a minute. Wow, like, what, this stuff you have right here, he like, don't you know, it don't matter if you file this if you wrote this out on a piece of tissue, if it's legible, if if it's readable, you file that with this, they have to give you your day in court. You have to be, they have to reopen your case with what you have here. I'm like, really? Like, yeah, man, you just grab this handbook. He went and got a motions handbook for me. He said, listen, you need to do this yourself. I said, man, I can't do it myself. I need a lawyer. I've been trying to present this stuff to a lawyer, to get a lawyer to take me on pro bono, maybe, knowing that I'm gonna win. Don't worry about trying to get a whole lot of money up front because I don't really have much. I'm like, hopefully, be like, listen, bro, that's a myth that you need a lawyer, especially with what you have. He like when you take this handbook and file that stuff accordingly, a lawyer will recruit, a lawyer will jump on your team, like, because you've already done the work. They'll put their firm behind you. So he convinced me that I could do it on my own, and I believed him. And I believed because what he said made sense. He said that some percentage, like 60-some% of cases, don't get filed by lawyers. They get filed by defendants, and then lawyers jump on board later. And he said this was winning cases, like 60% of winning cases. So I'm like, wow.
Okay, yeah.
So he really gave me a motivation, and I got the motions handbook, the defender motions handbook, and I looked in there and I followed the process, and I put all my materials, the stuff that I had over those years, the stuff that I obtained, and I put it in that motion. A real rough draft motion. It wasn't typed up. I was going through COVID. I caught COVID twice. The facility was on like lockdown, restricted access. We were confined in our units, and it was just a lot going on. But those were the things that made me get, serious. I seen people pass away in there, people that did 30 years and was about to go home. Older guys, 50, 60 years old, 70 years old.
Yeah.
And so it made me get real. And I filed the motion in January of 2021. And throughout the year of 2021, like I said, I kept my eye open for the signs, and I was reading between the lines, and there was stuff happening. There was shifts happening in my county, in Washtenaw County. Eli Savitt won the prosecutor's seat against the old prosecution team that convicted me. And Eli Savitt, my bad. Eli Savitt is, he's a progressive. He's about reform and justice and about cleaning up prosecutorial misconduct, things of that nature. So when he came in, he had work to do, which is cleaning up the office. me paying attention to what's going on, I'm like, wow, wait a minute, this person really is about what he wanted, about what he campaigned on, and this is just who he is. Then they would, come to my aid, come, they wouldn't stand for the injustice of my case, and they can look into their own files, maybe they can find something. So I got to writing letters and just filing stuff. And like I said, Valerie Newman is out of Wayne County. She's a Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit director, which Eli Savitt was founding a CIU in our county. So he's wanting to found one. It's not one yet at the time. Wayne County has one. We didn't. But I reached out to the Wayne County people, and they reached out to the Washington County people and forwarded my documents to them.
Okay.
And as this unit was being started, I was one of the first cases and first names that was being spoken. You know what I mean? Just so happened that's because, like I say, I put myself in that category, in that arena by reaching out, writing letters, and contacting people and expressing my innocence and showing them my documents. And lo and behold, as the unit began to take off, I was becoming the first person that they were going to work with because of people that worked at the Michigan Innocence Clinic, graduated from Michigan Innocence Clinic, started to work in the CIU in the prosecutor's office in Washington County. Okay. It's just so ironic. And so they had a relationship with some of the people from the Innocence Clinic, had some relationship with some of the people from the prosecutor's office in the CIU, the new CIU. So they worked with each other and talked to the prosecutor, and lo and behold, when the judge got my motion later that year, at the end of 2021, and ordered the prosecutor to respond to it, which is a big step because they could have just denied it. Like if it didn't have merit, the judge's clerk would deny it. They'll just stamp it and send it back to you.
Yeah.
But they had merit, and he asked the prosecutor to address it and respond. The prosecutor asked for more time to respond based on the level of seriousness of my claim of innocence. So when they looked into it, I think they asked for 90 more days of investigation. About 40 days in, they contacted Michigan Innocence Clinic with a groundbreaking discovery, and they told the Innocence Clinic that they had found in their own files that the prosecutor withheld evidence that was material to my trial and my proof of innocence. Basically that my father was being prosecuted by the same prosecution's office in a separate matter, and agreed to testify against me and he would only get probation and not go to jail in his case. So they did not tell the court, they did not tell us that. We had no idea why my father was in there doing that and why he was being a witness against me or even saying that. Lo and behold, he was avoiding a prison term himself by being a witness against me. And this was something that the prosecutor's office withheld from the judge and the defense team. So when the new prosecutors saw this, they was like, wow, this is like a real serious violation of Mr. Johnson's rights, because we could have attacked my dad's credibility and really shown, and really it would have gave us even more focus on the flaws in the case instead of just acting like, I just thought I wasn't gonna get convicted because it wasn't me. We didn't really attack all the different erroneous information and details that my father was providing. But had we known that he was being prosecuted and on his way to prison for something he did, we would have known why he was in there testifying. So the prosecutor's office actually volunteered this information up to us, told us that we need to add this information to my filing in order to basically they basically told us that they were gonna concede that I was but that my rights were violated and that I was actually that I was wrongfully convicted, and I was violated by the prosecutor's office. They actually conceded to us ahead of time that they were going to not fight it. So I still had to go through the process of those dates and time, maybe 2 months out and this for the dates to actually come. But I was getting word all in 2022 that, especially at the end of 2021, that we basically had did it. That it was looking like I was going to be coming home. So I really spent my last 6 or 7 months on a cloud, like, because I was just I had done it. I was in communication with the Michigan Innocence Clinic. They reopened my case and asked for my permission to be my lawyer. Like, they asked to represent on my behalf, because I still didn't never have a lawyer. But I signed a retainer. I agreed because they're from my county. I'm from Ypsilanti. They're from Ann Arbor. It's the same county, and it's only right that we come together. and it's the reason why it happened so quickly. If I'd have been ornery and stubborn and been, mad about the fact that they closed my case and holding a grudge, maybe I'd have got out, but maybe I'd have got out a lot later,
Yeah.
and with a lot less, friendships and a lot less, of a celebration because, it's I just knew that they didn't. I knew it wasn't. I didn't take it personally.
Hmm.
You know, they had their reasons why, and they all told me they all knew I was in. They said they all knew it was. It broke their heart to have to close the case. They were just going with what they thought was better. They didn't think that they would win. They didn't want to lose. They didn't think they want to win and waste. They didn't want to waste the time.
Wow.
But it was destiny for me to, clear my name. And they came back and asked, respectfully, would I allow them to, represent me and supplement and add on to what I filed. And they didn't even touch what I filed. They didn't even change one word. They didn't edit one detail. They just added a supplemental to what I filed. Out of respect for what I filed, they didn't. And they also always tell reporters or anybody asking about my case, they always tell people that I got myself out. They say that I filed it, that I got myself out. They don't say that without them, I couldn't have got it. I say without them, I couldn't have got out. But they say I did it myself. So it's like
Wow.
they want to make sure it's known that, I filed my own stuff and I found my way. But I wanted to let it be known that without their help, I couldn't have did it.
Yeah. That must have felt really good to have someone believe in you. Um, so what was it like when you got out?
I said it felt like like somebody just pulled me up out of a pool of water. Like I was underwater the whole time and they just pulled me up out the water. And all you gotta do is dry off and put clothes on you back. It's like it's not as hard of a for me. It wasn't as hard to get acclimated because I was always living in my future. I was always
Mhm.
laying down, waking up, and moving around, living in my future, like in my thoughts. I was placing myself in my freedom. You know what I mean? I was so maybe that's why I just hit the ground running. Of course, I haven't seen a therapist, and I feel like I do need to see therapy. I need that release, somebody that's professional and licensed to release to, other than your peers, who you
Mhm.
can vent to and stuff is different. But I'm pretty much self-resolved, self-worked out. I worked on myself a lot, and a lot of my whatever issues I work on them, I process them within, and it doesn't come out. People don't know I've been through what I've been through, and people don't know I'm having a problem if I'm having one, other than maybe a facial expression. But I don't lash out, and I don't take my frustrations out on other people. Something about my situation, you know,
Mhm.
open my eyes up in a different way. Being that my father, the person who raised me, taught me how to hunt and fish, and like taught me stuff and gave me a lot of wisdom, and I
Yeah.
got a lot of his qualities. The person who birthed me
But
did
you,
that to me.
yeah.
And so I have a different perspective on like people titles don't matter no more. Like people like who a person is doesn't matter. It's just about what they do.
Yeah.
It's about their actions. This is just about their tone and their vibration, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So
Um, so what items did you have when you got out of prison? Because I know some other exonerees I spoke to didn't have much, and did you need to get clothes or anything like that? Or
of course, yeah, yeah. My mother and my mother made a way for me. She had she made sure I had a room in her house and she was there, for to take me to go get clothes or whatever. I had my mother and my sister
Mhm.
uh, every step of the way, but that was all I had. I didn't have a fan. I didn't have fandom around me. I didn't have a lot of supporters. I didn't have my name wasn't in the news. It wasn't like leading up to this. I didn't have a buzz around me. Um, I didn't have no resources. I had the organization of exonerees, the exoneree brothers, some of the ones you talked to, man, Ken Nixon, Eric Anderson, Marvin Cotton Jr., and
Yeah.
Gilbert Poole. Those brothers was outside of jail when I got out. They were out there wearing their t-shirts. They was out there with the camera crew, and they received me.
Oh
And
wow.
so I had them. Um, I had their support. They got out before me, and they formulated a network, and they formulated a group to receive each brother that comes out, so that we not just out here, blowing in the wind and
Yeah.
disconnected. So I had those guys, man. I had my mother and my sister, and from there I rebuilt.
Wow. So what are you doing now? What's your life look like now?
So I got a 17-year-old daughter. She was 16 at the time. I took it upon myself to, against other people's advice that my mom wanted me to stay at home, and just so I wouldn't have to pay a bill, so I wouldn't have to do certain things. Like, just stay here, take it easy. I wanted to. I was hell bent on getting a place and having me and my daughter stay together, and pushing her through her last year of school. So I was hell bent because I didn't have. It was only one more year before she graduated. I'm like,
Mhm.
I need to have space and time with me and her together to get to know each other, and for me to raise her, and for me to,
Yeah.
be under that roof with her and work things out with her. So I did that when I got an apartment, and I've never worked other than having a paper route. I've never worked a day in my life. I've always been my own. I've always been a hustler. I cut hair. In the prison, I cut hair and I made pastries.
Oh, wow.
People love the pastries I made. I mean, it's like,
What's your
and
favorite
you
pastry
sell
to
it.
make?
So I just say one of the things that really kind of was like a viral sensation or a hit was like I would buy a box of graham crackers, cocoa, French vanilla creamer, um, oatmeal, fruit variety oatmeal, peanut butter, sugar,
Wow.
regular creamer, and milk. And you mash, and cookies. So you mash up the cookies and the oatmeal and the peanut butter.
Mhm.
You boil the sugar until it's like liquefied. You lay the graham crackers down in a box. Just the first, you break them, lay them in squares.
Mhm.
But as you make a bowl full of the fudge, what we call like the oatmeal, the peanut butter, the fudge,
Mhm.
excuse me, the cocoa, and as you mix it all up and you pour it in there and it sets, it locks up. Then I make another little whip to put on top and sit the top graham cracker layer on, so it's like a sandwich. Then I had another bowl of like taffy type creamer mix with the oatmeal, with the strawberry and the blueberry oatmeal, so you can see the blue and the
Mhm.
white with the white cream, and I poured it on top, and I called it American flag, like American flag, because it was like red, white, and blue. And you just let it sit, and then it locks up, like it locks up with like a taffy on top, and then you got the crunch, and then you got the soft middle, and then you cut it with your ID, just state ID card. You cut it, and it comes out perfect. You wrap it in plastic, and you go out to the day room, to the group room, wherever, to the microwave room, or wherever it is, and you set that stuff out. They tell them $1 a piece. You tell them $1 a piece. You
Wow.
might have spent $20 to get everything, and you will probably make about 40 pieces, so you could double your money. You would double your money. That was a hustle. And like I said, I took that same type of never never working for nobody, but I'm a team player, but I just never worked for anybody. I never was
Mhm.
responsible prior
Yeah.
to going to prison to actually obtain a job like that other than the paper route. So I came out here not knowing how to work for nobody, not willing to work for anybody, not quick to work for anybody, not against it, but just not seeking it out. I was just trying to find my way. They gave me WICA, which is Wrongful Imprisonment Compensation Act. I won and received WICA money, um, and I paid my mom's house off, paid my mom's such cars off, um, and I got some land. I went and got some land, and I put a whole bunch of money up, um, in a with the bank, and I just left myself a little bit of money to survive off of, to take care of me and my daughter. And I told myself that if I couldn't, you know, hustle with this money and make, do little, whether it's just, like I said, I cut hair. I don't do anything with. I haven't um went through life and done things in the proper way, like
Yeah.
through the process, going to school to get a license to be a barber. I'm just a barber,
Yeah.
self-made. I've always been self-made in that way, and so I
Well,
went out and I got with my.
Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. There's like a little time left on the Zoom. So I can send a new link and we can continue talking. It just might like end the meeting.
Okay. Okay.
I can just do that really quickly right now and then we'll
Okay.
join back in a minute. All right.
Okay. Cool.